Another thing I have is the unresolved relationship issues.
With Pink, his wife, he never gave her enough attention. She cheats on him. It's like because she wasn't getting the attention that she deserved. Yeah, he definitely lends himself to that failing of the relationship.
And then with Ethel Cain, it would be Willoughby Tucker, who is mentioned in Preacher's Daughter, the first album that came out of Ethel Cain's story, in the song A House in Nebraska, which is strictly about her relationship with Willoughby Tucker, her longing of like a peaceful escape with him, like away from all the stresses and the traumatic upbringings and everything. So she fantasizes living in a little house in Nebraska with him, like on a prairie or something, where it's just the two of them. Maybe they have a family. Like they can basically start over their lives peacefully together. And that whole idea is exemplified, expanded upon in Willoughby Tucker, I Will Always Love You, which came out last year in 2025. And it basically just like gives a deeper picture of what happened to the relationship, how they both struggled with this idea of each other and how they both wanted to escape, and Ethel Cain was using him as an outlet for her own like escapism, but Willoughby was faced with more of like the real world and like real world issues, like the accident in the mines, and he realized that Ethel Cain was putting this pressure on him to be someone that she thought he was, like strong and tough and manly and able to take care of her, but in the end that's just not the case, and he's human and he also has his own struggles, and so the relationship ended up falling apart. At the end of the album she says, I still believe in Nebraska dreaming, and it's a very formative relationship in her life, probably the only true relationship, like the only true feelings of love that she experienced in her life. Oh, mother. So obviously their mothers play an important role in their life. Well, it's not as clear in Ethel Cain's life, because we haven't gotten an album dedicated to her mother yet, which will happen later on as Ethel Cain herself, the person, Hayden, experiences her own life and has experiences that she can mix and form this new character in the cinematic universe of Ethel Cain, and eventually a film. But yeah, at the end of the album her mother is mentioned. The exact lyrics are, when my mother sees me on the side of a milk carton in a Winn-Dixie's dairy aisle, she'll cry and wait up for me. Which kind of like explains her own, like basically kidnapping. Even if she doesn't see it that way in the moment, she sees it as her willingly go with this person, but after he takes advantage of her, it is definitely some sort of like some abusive relationship. And I think Ethel Cain has mentioned that he always had this plan to do that to her, which is just cruel and awful. And at the end of the album, she says to her mother, I found you just to tell you that I made it real far, and that I never blamed you for loving me the way that you did while you were torn apart. This is presumably in reference to her husband, Ethel Cain's father, passing away. I will still wait with you there. Don't think about it too hard, or you'll never sleep a wink at night again. And don't worry about me and these green eyes. Mama, just know that I love you, and I'll see you when you get here. Because she's talking from outside of the living world, wherever she is when she died. And obviously Pink and Pink Floyd's The Wall has a whole song dedicated to his mother. um, where it's just basically about her goal to protect him, keep him safe from the outside world. This is also a little bit restrictive because since she wants to keep him safe, she won't let him fly, but she might let him sing. She is definitely one of the factors contributing to the wall, because we see in the visual story of the wall in the movie during the trial scene, as she holds and cradles him in his arms while he's like a stagnant doll, she basically just like forms the entire brick wall around him. So definitely some of the influence of building that wall came from his relationship with his mother and how she treated him, and their estrangement after his father died, because you could see how well like she cares for him in a way a mother does. She also like is a little bit more distant, because she's mourning the loss of her husband, which is very similar to Ethel Cain's story, because her mother is also mourning the loss of her husband and is a little more of a distant figure in Ethel Cain's life, even though they still care deeply and love their mothers. As they're older now, they see why they acted the way they did. Okay, let's see. So less about the characters and more about the artistry. Both of them are very like experimental music. Pink Floyd definitely leaned towards more experimental and like conceptual. And while they were very popular, also kind of like not as easily accessible to like maybe older people or something, because it was a new sound as music was evolving and changing, as it always does. And I think this is very similar to Ethel Cain, just based off of my own experience with those in my life. Ethel Cain, she can be classified as pop, but she's also like very electronic, synth oriented, some drone ambient influences, also some hyperpop influence definitely, which is also very like polarizing music genre, because it's just like there's just so much going on, and that may have been like what people were dealing with in like the era of Pink Floyd, with like the transition from more like folk songs and like pop rock like the Beatles and all those like doo-wop, as we lean towards more artistic music. I hope that he can see, and all those older generations can see, like the similarities between artists nowadays. Like art and music are not dying. There's still good music out there. You just have to look for it. There's so much music actually, like concepts, albums, characters, stories based off of music. It's not dead. It's just taken a new form. So I think that in a way, Pink Floyd, The Wall has come back in the form of Ethel Cain. But no, obviously they're not the same thing. Like, I don't even know if like she's influenced by Pink Floyd or not. But I think that it's very cool to see the parallels, because like human nature is just so like it's like in everything basically. Like we all use something as an outlet for our own like traumas and fears, and it's cool that both of them decided to use music and to share that with the world. And Pink Floyd also released a film, and Ethel Cain was originally planning to release this as a film, but it turned into an album. But eventually, when she has the budget for it, she'll make it into a film, which I'm so ready for. I'm so excited for, even though I know it's gonna be like a decade or so before it actually comes out. But yeah. Also, I would like to point out that both of them are very like use a lot of patriotic symbolism in their music. Like Pink Floyd obviously is a British band. Pink's dad died fighting for the British during World War II, so there's a lot of like British flag symbolism. The movie takes place in LA, but like a lot of the fascism that took place during World War II took place in Europe, and so it's just very like interesting to see all that. Some of the customs, like there's a lot more private schools in England, and a lot more rigidity as like tradition has been passed down upon. Also, like the mentioning of like the king, and how he blames the British government for his dad dying, and his like resentment towards all that and all those like authoritative figures in his life that leads him to turn into one in his mind. And then Ethel Cain, very Americana. Obviously, she has a song called American Teenager, which like talks about football games in the bleachers, and not the band, but like in the bleachers on the side of like a football field, and Cold War, which was very much so like an American thing, like the Red Scare and communists and the Soviet Union versus the United States. And yeah, it's just cool how like history ties to everything. Also like some like obviously like it takes place in the South, which is like what America is stereotyped as most of the time, like the yeehaw cowboys, Christianity, deep Southern Gothic is very her aesthetic, like churches and prairies and power lines and highways and just like all these like things associated with rural America, which is pretty much her style. Yeah, so I think that's also pretty cool. Yeah, so thank you for watching. If you have any more similarities, leave them in the comments. Or if you disagree with me, you can also argue with me in the comments. I would love to hear anyone else's point of view, because like I kind of just woke up with this thought and I decided to record a video. So yeah, bye!